Okay. So, again, something very quick today. We're going to start a new tshuva. Just give it a second to charge up. Okay, here's an interesting shaila. We know if you purchase an aliyah in shul, you got to make good on your pledge, right? I know. I have to wait till it stops blinking. Okay, so the shaila here is kana aliyah l'sefer Torah uba acher v'chataf esa aliyah. A guy buys an aliyah, and some grubber mensch comes and grabs it, takes your aliyah. So Reuven kana aliyat shishi b'shabish b'sach matayim shekel. So Reuven paid 200 shekel to get shishi. You know that joke. I've told it to you before. Okay. Okay. The Gabbai asked him, "Are you a Kohen or a Levi?" He says, "No, I'm a shishi." Okay. Anyway, uba chavero v'hiktim oto ve'ola Torah ubirech. And so his friend jumps up, opens up the Sefer Torah, and says the bracha before he has a chance to even get up there. Okay, so al mi l'shalem lebeis hakneses es hatruma shel hamatayim shekel chadash. Who's responsible to pay to the shul the 200 shekels? Who has an obligation to pay that? Is there an outstanding debt to the shul? Is the guy who pledged it liable? Or is the guy who stole it liable? Or is no one liable? Hagemara omeret b'masechet chulin adam sheshachad ov tzarich lechasot et damo ba'afar. So first of all, he says there's a Gemara that says that if a person slaughters a bird, he needs to do kisui hadam, right? He needs to, like you slaughter a chicken, you pour dirt or earth. They use generally sawdust in slaughterhouses. You have to pour something to cover the blood. It's a mitzvah of shenemar b'shafach b'chisa. Torah says he shall pour and cover. And the mitzvah, upon whom is the mitzvah to place the earth on the blood? It's the person who did the shrita. It was the shayche. Ma'isa be'echad, and it's basically his zechus to do the mitzvah, because it's considered to be a zechus to do a mitzvah, right? So it's not just who has the obligation to do it, but who has the zechut to perform this mitzvah. So Maisa ba'adam echad sheshachat v'kodam chaveru v'chisas adam ba'afar. And there was once a situation where a person shechted his chicken, and some other shmendrik came along and did the mitzvah of kisui hadam, covered up the blood. V'chivo Rabbi Gamliel lases lo asara zehuvim. And Rabbi Gamliel assessed the guy 10 gold pieces, which is a huge sum. Over $1,000 in our currency, right? So Rabbi Gamliel says you've got to pay the guy for stealing his mitzvah. V'hadinhu shafilu im hachotef muchan lahavi lo of acher lishchot kedei sheyikayim mitzvahs kisei hadam. And the halacha is that, let's say the chopper, the guy who did the kisei hadam, says, don't worry about it. I'll bring you another chicken, and you can shecht it all over again and do the kisui hadam yourself. He still has to pay the 10 gold pieces. A chicken wouldn't even cost a half of a gold piece, right? Why? Kevin shazu mitzvah acheres u mitzvah rishona holchala, because this is now considered to be a new mitzvah. In other words, I had that one opportunity with that particular mitzvah. You stole it from me. There's no substitutes for that particular mitzvah on that particular chicken on that particular day or whatever it was. V'nikra mu'uvas lo yuchal liskal. And therefore, it's something that in the language of Koheles would be a corruption that cannot be repaired. It cannot be rectified. Okay? So, v'kasvu hatois v'sham, de'echad sha'amad b'makom chaveru likro b'torah, patr milashalim lo asara zehuvim. However, Tosfos comes into that Gemara. So we see the Gemara when it comes to the mitzvah of Kisei Hadam. Now, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this dongle is not meeting its mark. And I don't understand why it keeps. I'm going to unplug it, and we'll try to plug it in again and see maybe it'll find it. Isn't technology grand? Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so, okay, at least now I got the, okay, in any event, so if you chop someone else's aliyah, you're exempt from paying the 10 gold pieces. Vafilu im amad b'makom kohen patur, and even if you took the kohen's aliyah, you're going to be exempt. Mishum, and why is that? Shekulam chayovim b'kriyas haTorah. Here's the svara of Tosfos. When it was my chicken and my mitzvah to do, you took my mitzvah. But everyone in the congregation has a mitzvah of kriyas haTorah. So it wasn't your mitzvah per se, it wasn't your aliyah. We all take turns. So I decided to take a turn instead of you. So as the Makor Baruch says, Biur Divreihem, Dehare Kulam Chayavim b'mitzvahs kriyas haTorah. Everyone's obligated and to hear the Torah reading. I didn't take your specific mitzvah. The mitzvah is much as is my right as it is your right to read from the Torah. So even though the Gabbai may have allotted the aliyah to you, I haven't stolen your mitzvah. I've stolen a communal mitzvah that was designated for you, but it really is incumbent upon all of us. Do you see the distinction that he's drawing? Because of Harosh, and then the Rosh brings in his commentary, this is a famous story brought down by other Svarim. A person hired a moil. He told a certain moil, I want you to be my son's moil for the bris. The kada moil acher umol es beno. Another moil came and performed the circumcision. And we have stories like this. There's a story about the Minchas Elazar, who was the great Hasidic Ungarische Rav. I think it was said about him that he had a grandson who was he had a son-in-law who was more Litvish and wasn't as Hasidic. And he wanted a different moil than his grandfather, who was a moil. So he surreptitiously, quietly, or his mechutin, I think, was a litvak, was a misnagit. So his mechutin secretly got someone else to do the bris, like the bris was called for 8. He got a guy to come at 6 and do the bris. And so the Minchas Elazar, when he discovered the baby was already circumcised, said, Baruch Hashem, now I can enjoy the simcha as a participant, not as an officiant. But of course that covered up a lot of pain, right? So v'tava hamoil harishon mehasheni asar zehuvim. So the first moil claimed from the second moil, you owe me 10 gold pieces. You stole my mitzvah. Upatro Rabbeinu Tam. And Rabbeinu Tam also exempted the second moil, even though he acted treacherously, but he said, I can't assess you that amount. Kevin shahaya hamoil harishon bibris va'ana amen. Begadol ha'oina amen yoser meha. So here's his first argument. We have a principle that the person who answers amen is greater than the person who says the bracha. So you were there at the bris. You answered amen to his bracha, so you got a zuchus. Your zuchus of not doing the bris and being a passive participant who just said amen is even greater than the person who performed the bris, which is an unusual statement to make. Ve'im hu lo ana amen hu hifsidus atzma. If you didn't answer amen, but you were still there, you caused yourself to lose out on the mitzvah. In other words, just saying amen, it's as if not only you said the bracha, but it's as if you did the mitzvah also, which is a huge chiddush that Rabbeinu Tam is offering. It's a little bit hard to hear, I'll be honest with you. V'hosif harasham degam b'li tam zeh hamoyel pater milashalem. And the Rush adds, and he says that even without that argument of the moil being present to answer Amen, there's another reason why the second moil is Potter. Ki afal pisha avi haben amar lamoil arishon lamul esbino lo zacha hamoil ba'osa hamitzvah. He says, even when the father of the child appointed the first moil to be his son's moil, it's not as if it now becomes exclusively his mitzvah. Lo zacha hamoil ba'osa mitzvah dekevin sha'aba lo ratza lo molis beno. Because once the father makes it known that he doesn't want to do it himself, but he wants someone else to be the moil, memela kol Yisrael chayavin lamulo. Then the mitzvah falls on all of Klal Yisrael to do that child's bris. And with that instruction that the father gave to moil number one to do the bris, it doesn't remove the obligation on the rest of Klal Yisrael to circumcise that child. And even if they make some sort of kinyan, to some sort of transactive act that binds the father to the moil and vice versa, that still doesn't remove the mitzvah from everybody else. And it's for that reason the Rush felt that the guy is putter. Let's just take a look before we go any further. Let's take a look at some of the Makor Baruch. The Makor Baruch continues this idea that when everyone has an obligation to a mitzvah, you can't say the mitzvah is mine and you took it away. He says, "Uchein zeh chashavnu ladun legabe Ruvain sheratza lahaniach es hatfilin shelo lifnei hashkia ki lo hinicha adayin ba'oso yom." There's another case that this argument would apply. Ruvain wanted to put on his tefillin and it was already in the afternoon. He had neglected to put on his tefillin, and it was already getting close to sunset. Uba Shimon v'chatvan v'hinichan ba'atzim. Shimon comes along, grabs Ruvain's tefillin, and puts them on himself, because he also wants to put on tefillin. Delafum riyata hayanira de Shimon chayav asar zehuvin l'Ruvain kevin shachatav hamitzvah me'Ruvain v'kiyama ba'atzmo. It would seem that Shimon has to pay Ruvain 10 gold pieces because he stole his mitzvah. He took away my opportunity to wear my own tefillin. Amnam nira lechalek to sof Shimon lo kiyam mitzvahs Ruvain rakmana Ruvain mitzvaso. The kiyam mitzvahs atfillin shu atzim mechuyev ba v'yesh lomar depater v'ayem. He says it could seem that Shimon did not take Ruvain's mitzvah. He just prevented him from the opportunity to do the mitzvah by taking the only pair of tefillin. So he withheld the opportunity from Ruvain to do the mitzvah, not that he did it instead of Ruvain. In other words, Ruvain had his mitzvah, Shimon had his mitzvah, and Shimon decided that he was going to do the mitzvah with that pair of tefillin that he's obligated in. And therefore, you could argue that Shimon is putter because he didn't prevent Ruvain from doing the mitzvah. Shimon's argument was, find another pair of tefillin. Very strange. Okay, we'll hold it here. We'll have to continue this in Mirz Hashem next week.